Hello, folks in cyberspace, and welcome to Focus on Liberia. Today is a special edition here. Focus on Liberia with me, Anthony C., your host. Welcome. Quickly do all that usual favor. Hit that share button and let's get to business because the business we must get to. I have somebody with me here. He is comfortably seated. Yeah, he is smiling, really, to get some work done here. Anthony Axe Jackson Jr. is my guest here in this special edition of Focus on Liberia. And as always, we are broadcasting from Atlanta, the USA. Welcome, folks. Let's get to it. What do we have for you on the menu today? You might be wondering. It is all loaded, and we are all ready for you. Let me see what we have here. Here you go. Number one, Chief Justice Francis Kwakpo revisionism. This guy is trying to turn around the pages of history, and somebody is here to hold him accountable for trying to revise our history. Apparently, he did not read the history well, but I have somebody to hold him accountable. That is the job that we do. Number two, Concerned Liberty Party Palestinians retreat. They are having a retreat. These are concerned members of the opposition Liberty Party. Many of you have been following. Things have been going in the opposite direction. And these guys are saying, this is not the path for Liberty Party. We must be able to reverse course and correct the wrong so that we can maintain the integrity that we've had over the years. Not only that, is Musa Hassan Bility sponsoring the Liberty Party? That is the question we are answering. Somebody is here to provide that answer. And if we have some time, the rocket road to 2023, he's a politician, he's a lawyer, he is comfortably seated. But let me give you a little bit about our guest here, Anthony Axe Jackson Jr. We understand NETA bachelor degree at the University of Liberia in political science and economics. He was not certified. Another bachelor in law, I believe the same University of Liberia. Not certified still. This guy keep claiming Master of Law in International Economic Law, and he netted that one from the prestigious University of London. In terms of work, well, when he first went in government, Assistant Minister for Information Services, Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism, and then he got a promotion, Deputy Minister for Press and Public Affairs, Minister of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism, and the most recent profile that he had, or portfolio he had, having to be Liberia's permanent representative to the International Maritime Organization. That one, we understand, just ended. There was a little bit of noise there, but this guy is still standing. My friend, I'm happy to have you as always.
Oh, thank you very kindly. Commercier, it's a good pleasure having me. And let me say good morning, good afternoon, good evening to Liberia across the globe following this live broadcast. I'm very humbled to be here.
He's hopeful, he's happy to be here, and we will get to business. But, we can't start without asking for the family. Pandemic has been, ravishing around the world. How things are your end?
Oh, no, we're doing fine. We are grateful to God for helping us to continuously bask in his efficacious grace. None of our family member has been affected yet. We thank God for his grace. And above all, Her Majesty government is doing everything humanly possible to contain the virus. So there is a drastic decline of reported cases in the United Kingdom, particularly in UK, where I am currently residing. And we're praying for our friends and family members, colleagues all across the globe, that God will continue to guide them, that they will stay safe and well.
That is the prayer for all of us, for everybody, that we all stay safe and well. Well, we are here to do some job for the Liberian people, to talk about the issues that matter. And I think we should first start. But maybe I should start your introduction. Did I say anything wrongly that you want to correct?
No, I think it's okay. I mean,
Okay.
you zoom in on my academic credential, and I think it's important that you did so because nowadays we have the academic policeman. Impressing of Mr. Colleagues who are over the place. I'm humble. I don't have a PhD, but I have a Master of Law degree in international economic law from Babek University of London. I'm humble. For me, it matters little whether you are a PhD or whether you hold, several degrees or you are engaged in credentialization. What matters is what you can offer, what logic you can provide, to society. I think that what really matters. It doesn't matter the degree. So yes, you did your best to go through all that painful recollection and rigor of my academic standing. Thank you.
All right. We want to say thank you for joining us. You are right. Mountain Colley is the new academic credentials police. I hope he will not go in my closet and pull something out. But anyway, I've been, truthful to myself. But let's get started. Chief Justice Francis Kwakwa revisionism. Our understanding is that when the Chief Justice had the opportunity to comment on the pages of Liberia history, specifically on what happened during quote unquote the rice riot, as being referred to in Liberia, he told a story that you understand is completely wrong. And so you said, no, I have to come to set the record straight. What did he actually say? How did he get it wrong? And how can we outline the facts so that the Liberian people can get the facts? Because we must give them the fact. Don't you think so?
Oh, sure, we should. Sure, we should. Come see it, and to the people listening to us, it is not unusual for some people to either inflate their role in history if they believe the role they play in history is good. There's a tendency for people to inflate that. Conversely, there is also a tendency for people to sanitize or deodorize history, especially when the role they play in history come across as terrible. This is the case with His Honor Chief Justice Francis Kwakwa. And what he did in recent time is very, very disturbing. Not only that it is disturbing, but it is dangerous. I mean, his audacity, his unbridled audacity to provide what I would call a plausible or a glorious explanation for the horrendous human rights violations meted out or perpetrated against unarmed civilians during the Red Riot by the True Party government security forces. That revisioning of that history, confirm the assertion by Justice Kabina Janet that Justice Kwakwa is inept and unfit to preside over the Supreme Court and by extension the judiciary of our country. The revisionistic attempt by Chief Justice Kwakwa to misportray, miseducate, and downplay the terrible, terrible things that happened during the Red Riot is absolutely incredulous. Because no Chief Justice anywhere around the world or in the world will say or do or come close to doing what Chief Justice Kokpo did, because the action carried out by the True Party security forces against the civilian cannot, and if you like, you can say could not, but cannot be justified on any grounds, whether legal or morally. And if you say legal, it cannot be justified legally, nationally, and internationally, because the action carried out by the security people then was in violation of the Liberian Constitution. For example, the Liberian Constitution, Article 16, if you go on the fundamental rights, Article 16 of the Liberian Constitution, not Article 16, but Article 11, that's not 16, but Article 11 of the Liberian Constitution talks about what? Fundamental rights. Say the right to what? Life, the right to liberty, they say they are what? Inherent right. They are inalienable rights. And if you read the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, all right, what it says is that right or the right to life cannot be arbitrarily taken away. During the arrest riot in question, the security forces of the True Party government indiscriminately murder people. There are other reports that say they kill up to 20. The other reports say they kill close to 200 people. And they even injure close to 200 people. That is the record. And so, for the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the Republic of Liberia to sit in open court and present a picture as though what the security people did during the arrest riot was justified, it's just downright disgraceful. Because what he said, for example, you know what he said? He said that some of the people who were arrested during the arrest riot were not political prisoners. Okay, some of the people who were arrested and jailed. She just said, in open court said those people were not political
prisoners.
But here is the point. Here is the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
People like Gabriel Bacchus Matthews, like Deacon Carlo, like Oscar Jayikuya, peace with Atty. Yes, like Dr. Famule, Dr. Sawyer, they were political activists. They were exercising their political rights to protest the policy of the government that abruptly increased the price of rice from 22 bucks to 26 extension to 30 bucks, right?
Yeah.
And in protesting, in gathering people to challenge that action, which was the right in keeping with Article 17 of the Constitution, and that act took place, they were all rounded up. They were rounded up with all arrest warrants, because there gotta be a warrant or arrest. There was no arrest warrant. They were unlawfully incarcerated without any charge, and subsequently, when they were charged, we know what the government charged them for. The government charged them for treason. So it's just a corporate telling us that he does not know the nuances or the nuance regarding the crime of treason. Treason is a political crime. So if he said those people were not political prisoners, then who were they? It's just a corporate trying to tell us that we should subscribe to the characterization provided by elements of the hateful oligarchy that the likes of Gabriel Bacchus Matthews, that Dr. Famule, they were grown-up boys who were trying to make trouble, or they were looters. That's the version of history just the corporate wants us to believe? That version of history is dangerous. It's an act of revisionism, and I think he needs to desist for doing that, because what he's done now, he's bringing the court in public disrepute. How can anybody sit in that high position who is supposed to be a respecter of the law, saw people violating the law, and still trying to find a plausible explanation that all the people who were arrested and jailed, they were not political prisoners? If they were not political prisoners, what characterization does your couple have for them? What were they? One of the things he tried to do in the opening statement, he tried to cover up some of the role he played. Take for example, he said he was a research coordinator, at the Bureau of Rehabilitation, right?
Right.
If he said he was research coordinator, then we need to ask him, Mr. Justice Copper, as research coordinator, what research were you coordinating? Were you coordinating research that had to do with how to inflict bodily harm with all scar, or how to torture people with all living scar? What research? Even the Bureau of Rehabilitation from 1967, the Bureau of Rehabilitation was established 1969. They say from 1969 on their own website. If you go on the Bureau of Rehabilitation or Bureau of Rehabilitation and Correction, now they call it. If you go on the website, they say the Bureau was established 1969. From 1969 up to 1970, it says that Bureau was presided over by what? Military people. That is on their own website. So if the Bureau was presided over by military people, you know the Bureau has a corrupt history. So Papa wants us to believe that he was the only guy at the Bureau of Rehabilitation under the hateful oligarchy. We're going to talk about the oligarchy, what they did to our people, right? Under that hateful oligarchy, Papa said he was the only guy there, and he was just coordinating research, and he was not pressing superintendent, as has been alleged in the public by people like Samuel Jackson and other people who have corrected him repeatedly, that this man used to serve as prison superintendent. And even when they arrested them during the arrest riot, he was there and even trying to laugh at them and make mockery of them. And so if Papa wants us to say, okay, he was just coordinating. What was he coordinating? What research was he coordinating? What research was Mr. Justice Copper coordinating? And why are you trying to do this?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we have a problem here. We have a problem here with somebody who wants to revise history, re-engineer history, so that he comes across as shining. But let's assume for the sake of the argument that what he's saying, he was just researching and he's just big human right guy. What do you say about his reaction to Mr. Atty Pompon? Mr. Atty Pompon was pushed to the brink.
And before we get to that Atty Pompon, let me see if we can go back to some of the things you said. You said Cabinet Janet was right when he said that Chief Justice Popo is inept. Now, that suggests also that you believe that the Chief Justice is inept. So that is your charge. Now, we have record that you two have been in somehow war of words with the Chief Justice. You have taken him to task so many times. It said one of the reasons why you are coming out now and trying to seize on this opportunity to bash at the Chief Justice again, because the last time you did that, we have a letter here in our position. You have to apologize the way you went at him. So is this the beef between you and the Chief Justice for you are doing this?
No, I'm not. I mean, my thing is, I'm not driven by any beef. We are seizing onto the occasion to provide a clearer explanation to our people to correct miseducation being carried out by Mr. Justice Copper. In fact, the correction being provided is not coming only from our word. That correction also came from the president of the bar, who also was a participant in the arrest riot, or a person that went to the arrest riot to basically show his support, to challenge and protest the government action to abruptly increase the price of rice. So this is not just a correction coming from Mr. Jackson. But let me just even say this. Mr. Justice Copper characterization of those who were, unfairly, unlawfully incarcerated as not being political prisoner or non-political prisoner. The president, we are in recent time, got that history that those people play correct when he properly paid tribute to the memory of, Oscar Jahikuya. President, we have described Oscar Jahikuya as a patriot and somebody who was a champion of multi-party democracy. So You see the Chief Justice and the President, either the Chief Justice is contradicting the President, which I think is wrong, because the President is the head of government. The President said, this man was a good man. He fought for multi-party democracy. Because said, no, don't consider him as somebody who fought for multi-party democracy. Don't consider him as a water patriot. Consider him in the eyes of what the hateful oligarchy element call him as a troublemaker. Because if Papa said they were not political prisoners, then who were they? The only characterization that we know that came out of that arrest riot was the hateful oligarchy or element of the True Party described Gabriel Barker Murphy and others as what? Troublemaker, grown-up boys. You know what I mean? Is that what we also see our heroes to be? The people who were causing trouble and that they deserve to have been arrested as they did, and even subsequently charged for treason. So we need to ask Mr. Justice Kwakpo, is he saying that the crime of treason that was subsequently placed upon these people as a charge does not have any political, undertone? Treason has a political element. Treason is our political crime. How can you argue intelligently that these people were not political prisoners, but they were charged with a political crime of treason? What logic is this? What sort of ridiculous revisionism is going on by the men who preside over our court, who doesn't see that, the security people violated the fundamental rights, committed human rights violation against unarmed civilians who they killed in cold blood. The streets of Monrovia, was soaked with blood. Today, Papa want us to believe that everything that happened to the Red Riot was just good. They just put the people in jail. They were not political prisoners. The True Party was a good government. Imagine. This is the explanation provided by this man. If you want to bring it within the European context, almost equal to somebody who denied the Holocaust. It's just ridiculous for anybody in that high position to try.
Or somebody who's trying to deny racism in America, or somebody who's trying to deny the transatlantic slave trade, if you like, right?
Absolutely, it's just ridiculous. We all know the pages of history, the level of human rights violation that was carried or perpetrated against unarmed civilians by security forces belonging to the True Party government. And somebody who sits in a high position, who should be concerned about justice, who should be concerned about, trumpeting the issues of rights. He saw that people's rights were violated. They were arbitrarily arrested. They were incarcerated unlawfully, without any warrant. They were not even read their Miranda rights. It took them days, according to Council of Bungalow, before they could even bring charges against them. Even some of them were charged.
No due process was granted them as well.
Absolutely. So if you arrest people who are exercising their rights, or political people, civil activists, if you arrest them, challenging, action of the government, policies of the government, you arrest them, you put them in jail, and then you charge them with treason. Because they were charged with treason, but they're not political prisoners. Who were they? How can he do this to the court?
And Anthony Jackson,
if Chief Justice Kwakpo had any scintilla of respect for that Supreme Court, he should now be walking the plane. He should be resigning, because his position, his articulation, his recollection of history contradicts President Weah recollection of history. President Weah, who is the president of the republic, look at Oscar Jayikuya and doesn't see him as somebody who was a grown-up boy or who was a troublemaker. Because Oscar Jayikuya was a prominent member of the power. He was the Secretary General of the power. Today, the torture that was carried on Oscar Jayikuya, if you look at his eye, just know that he crossed eye, right? The way they fought them, the way they tortured them, if Kwakpo trying to justify torture, when he argued that people who were, incarcerated were not political prisoners. Okay, so why? He agreed with the torture that was carried out by the True Party security people? Does he agree with the murder that took place over the watch? Because even people who gave instruction, the Minister of Justice, right? Kwakpo was working in the Ministry of Justice. The Ministry of Justice operated the police and the president, right? So the police people who were shooting people were operating on the instruction of Kwakpo bosses. Is that what he's trying to cover up the history? We got to ask him a hard question. Because anybody who tries to miseducate our people regarding our history, it doesn't mean well. That's why I think we need to challenge him Some of you need to carry your microphone to him and ask him, Mr. Justice Corporal, if you say these people were not political prisoners, then who were they? You need to answer that question. What kind of organization do we give them?
Anthony Johnson, I think you have sufficient time to ask the necessary question and make the emphasis that you felt needed to be made, given the position of Justice Kwakpo. He is the Chief Justice of the Republic of Liberia. You articulated very well that, hey, the way those citizens who were peacefully protesting, all right, something that having to be their constitutional right to have been violated in that manner, that only did not violate their constitutional right or their human rights were also violated, due process and all that did not happen. And so far, the Chief Justice of the land, the man who should represent the law, to be the one saying something contrary to the facts, is the stepping. And you even said that the man should be walking down the steps and resign.
Walking the plank. He should be walking the plank to resign.
Okay. So, but you earlier, I was trying to bring to your attention, you mentioned ineptitude on his part, and then you were bringing in the issue of Atty Pompon. So why are you trying to connect this to Atty Pompon? Atty Pompon were only protesting for salary. I'm not sure if the Chief Justice is the one who writes the check, is the final minister responsible to pay these people. So why are you linking that to Chief Justice Kwakpo?
You see, if you read his statement, which I read, re-delivered by Frank Wooler, he said, look, all along, he's trying to praise himself, right? After he has, done this egregious act of denying or miseducating or misportraying or downplaying the horrendous human rights abuses that took place during the Red Riot. He said, all along, I'm a human rights man. Everybody in the country knows me to be human rights man. I don't do bad things, But you want us to believe genuinely that you are a human rights person? Honor your watch. A citizen who did not take pay for maybe 3 months or more got pushed to the brink because he could not get justice, either by your action or inaction. Honor your watch as Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. The man set himself ablaze in the courtyard. Mr. Corporal, how can you show such indifference since the boss set himself ablaze? Have you heard Corporal say anything about that? Corporal, I'm told that while the man set himself ablaze because he was pushed to the brink searching for justice, the boy was sitting in his office in comfort, showing absolute indifference to the pain and suffering of this man. What is the man's humanity? What is his humanity? In the Eastern case, what anybody with good and decent heart would have done would be maybe like what the president said in recent time on his trip. He said, well, Mr. Atty Pompon, it is not good for you to have gone to the extreme to set yourself ablaze. Okay, Mr. President, let's agree that what you're saying is true. But at this stage, you must now show the human side to the politicians. Say, look, it was not good that you did it, but we will not sit down to allow you to die. Mr. Atty Pompon is dying slowly from his wound. What is the compassion? Rabbi Israel and Joshua, you know what he said? He said, indifference to evil is more insidious than evil itself. He said, indifference is what makes the very angel to weep. How can you see somebody suffering, like Atty is suffering, and you show indifference, and you're not concerned, unconcerned? You're sitting down in your comfortable office as Chief Justice Corporal. You drive a air-conditioned car, a brother who was trying to exercise his right, pushed to the brink, is dying slowly. You cannot muster that moral rectitude. You say, look, I know what he did. He went to the extreme, but for the human side, I will reach out. Let's go, Atty Pompon, yeah, 5,000 here, or yeah, 10,000, take care of your hospital bill, but no other citizen should do this again. No other citizen. Matter of fact, we should not put our citizens so much so that they will have to go and set themselves ablaze.
And Anthony Jackson, the incident with Atty Pompon is painful, when someone's trying to narrate it, right? So this guy was trying to use extreme measures or taking extreme measures to call the attention of the authority.
Yes.
Hey, government owes me, I want my money.
Yes.
Government is not paying. At some point, this guy had to even put himself on a Kwakpo's car that Kwakpo will not leave.
Yeah.
And he still could not get justice. They couldn't get their pay. Yeah. The point I'm bringing here is that what is said that this citizen has done against the law for which his government is letting him down. He needs medical attention to be taken abroad. It said because the government of the day or sees his action as trying, to kind of expose them or embarrass them. Is that what it is? Because this guy is suffering. You can tell.
But this is the point we must are making, right? So if Mr. Justice Corporal wants us to believe that he is a good human right guy, I mean, what he's really demonstrating is that he's feeling people like Archbishop Francis, who must have even, helping to be, a JPC guy. Today, if Archbishop Francis were to look upon what Justice Corporal is doing, he will be turning around in a grave in disgust. Because it can't be on Archbishop Francis' watch. You can't be somebody who say, I was under the tutelage of Archbishop Francis and show so much indifference to the pain and suffering of another human being. Archie Pompon, let's assume, for the sake of the argument, that Archie Pompon action was extreme. So would you set Adley bar for the young man to die from the fire wound inflicted because he was driven, pushed to the brink of justice? So I'm saying to you, brother, all of the words of Chief Justice Corporal, where he wants us to depict the glorious picture that he's a good human right man, I'm saying to you, Tetina Temis, that Greek goddess in Liberia, brother, she's not blind anymore. That Greek goddess is supposed to be blind. The skill in her hand is supposed to be balanced. The soul she will is not supposed to be twisted. Today, that soul she will is twisted. It's twisted. That soul bending. Because the goddess is seeing.
Well, Anthony Jackson, let me hold you there. You are a man of the law. You have been practicing law. You are an attorney at law. The Supreme Court, the entire judicial system, had not been to the pleasing of Liberians. You know that for a fact. So what we see today at the Temple of Justice or at the judiciary branch of government, it's not anything new. Has it reached a new low or level for which you are alarming this way, or what is it that you find with Popo?
My friend, there are few things that Liberian people are observing. And this morning I listened to one of the fellow from the court, and they say they're trying to do rebranding of the court, the OKFN, and explain it. I can tell that, brother, and the entire country and those listening to me, no level of rebranding of sweet talking the Liberian people will make the Liberian people to have any confidence in that court. What that court needs to do is to take action against people who are deemed to be corrupt. That's number one. That's the first major thing that court needs to do, to set a clear example. All right? But you go and you explain it. Take for instance, the Chief Justice himself, who is supposed to be, somebody interpreting our law, who's supposed to, in keeping with Judicial Canon 10, supposed to uphold the Constitution, right? He is the first person to waste liquid menu on the Constitution. The first man to waste liquid menu over the Constitution when he says that people who were exercising their right in keeping with Article 17 of the Constitution and were detained unlawfully jail. He said they were not political prisoners. Imagine that person. Let me tell you one thing they did in recent time. Take for example, my own big brother, I have known him for some long time, right? Before he even went to the Supreme Court bench. Justin Nangbe. It is mentioned in the United States State Department report of 2019. There's an incident that is cited that the court is not independent. In the criminal trial involving Councilor Vanis Sherman, the very, somebody that I know, on the silver money case, global witness case, really, global witness case, they say the United States Department report that I'm quoting. So somebody want to hold me to go to the report and read it. The report says that Justice Nangbe, Associate Justice Nangbe, while the trial was ongoing and Councilor Vanis Sherman were on the witness stand, Justice Nangbe moved by some kind of passion, left his chamber and went to the criminal court. And because of his presence, immediate presence in the criminal court, as unprecedented that was, Judge Peter Benewilly has to pause the trial, go in his chamber with Associate Justice Nambe, and then from there they gave the verdict they give. Now, if you conducted yourself in that manner, do you want the Liberian people to believe that the judgment served was fair? You want to believe so? My friend, you living in America. Do you want to believe that, say for example, Associate Justice Clarence Thomas, leaving the chamber of the Supreme Court of the United States of America and going to one of those circuits because either his friend on trial there, you are seeing happy? Or take for instance,
that is not possible. Even a phone call, Anthony Jackson, a phone call there will get you in trouble.
Yes, Associate Justice Elena Kagan. Take for example, Associate Justice Elena Kagan of the United States Supreme Court going to one of those circuits because her friend is on trial there and going there and the judge pausing the trial and going behind the chamber so they will talk. What picture are you trying to depict? The challenge we're having with some of our justices on the court, they're lacking in what I would call self-awareness. That when you start doing this thing and the public see it, the public will have suspicion, you are confirming that suspicion. Then to add on that suspicion, the American State Department report is calling you out. Then you put one ball on the radio and you say, oh, the problem in the country here, they could correct, but I just perception. You really believe, you think the Liberian people will listen to you? Okay, you say a perceptional problem. Go to Justice Kabina Jande and ask Justice Kabina Jande, where you serve justice. And you say Justice Jande will tell you, say, oh, yeah, no, that perceptional thing, Justice Kobo role in my trial was fair. Justice Kabina Jande was the first person to describe Chief Justice Kobo as inept, and I'm quoting him. Inept and unfit to preside over the Supreme Court of the
And do you believe that?
The judiciary.
Do you believe that?
What about that view? He said, I mean, he's a senior lawyer.
You are a lawyer too. I mean, I'm asking you a question. Do you believe that Justice Kobo is inept?
The point here is that an associate justice who worked alongside with Chief Justice Kobo is describing him in the public unrefuted as well inept.
And so we should take him for his words.
Absolutely. Justice Kobo has that kind of to say, I'm not inept or, I fail to preserve. So Justice Abina Jande's description of Justice Kobo as being inept remain unrefuted. That's why I'm quoting him. That's why I'm quoting the chief.
So does the Chief Justice have to respond to just about anything anybody says against his person?
No, he doesn't have to do it. But in fact, this is what they're doing now. He doesn't have to do that, but this is what they're doing. So if the Chief Justice told his friend or one of the person who working in his office to go on radio and be responding to public accusation, then why he can't explain that other one? Because even the Supreme Court responded to me based on the accusation you say that were in the front page African newspaper, right? Yeah. They responded to me, they blasted at me, even though they responded to me in the front page Africa, which qualify on a balanced reporting, the Chief Justice, without any color or right, and in violation of Article 20 of the Liberian Constitution, suspend my lesson to practice law for 1 year. This day, to the agreeable silence of his colleague on the bench, all right, ordained himself in obvious repudiation of the principle of natural justice, made himself a judge, an accuser, and a punisher in my case. He said, oh, that man here, he talked bad thing about me in front of African newspaper, and so right now, I'm suspending his lesson, and 1 year he will not practice law. Liberian Constitution says you cannot do that. If you are going to accuse me, Mr. Chief Justice, then I must be heard. Then you must serve me notice. And even at that, you can't be the one presiding over a judgment or a matter that will judge me guilty. The law says you can't do it. You can't do it. And that's what he did. The law said article, I think it's not article, but
so there, Anthony Jackson, when he did that, at some point, you were not very happy with that. And so you went after him with some tough words, and some of the words you have to put them by with a letter of apology.
No, but here's the point. Here's the thing, yeah? As a lawyer, again, the court, that was a rule in the opinion of the court, right?
Right.
The opinion of the court, even though I disagree with the opinion of the court, But as a lawyer, I am obliged to respect that opinion. So I voiced my disagreement. The opinion said I should write apology. So I had to write the apology, right? But here is the thing. If you read the opinion of the court, which I also challenged, right? Because I wrote an official communication to the Judicial Inquiry Commission complaining of the violations of my right by Justice Copper, right? I also cataloged the various judicial conduct that Justice Copper violated. The Judicial Inquiry Commission wrote me back and said, my man, look, listen, we do not have, the competence to invest. Can you imagine? The Judicial Inquiry Commission said we ain't got a competence to investigate a man. So if Copper were to abuse you right now, you can't complain him anywhere. Case closed.
So is it that Justice Copper is above the law? I think that's one of the things you said.
That told me that how he comes across. So because the justice, like people would normally say, he's first among equal. So if other associate justices on the bench can be, investigated, how can they cannot be investigated? But even if you say, okay, he cannot be investigated, then it means he must abide by the highest standard. He cannot be flagrantly abusing people's rights and going, unchallenged because he's still justice. Is that why the law envision, right? He should not be doing that. But that's what he did. But even if you were to even leave the procedural thing, all right, the procedural aspect, which I complain about, because one of the things the Chief Justice did was he was in violation of the rules of the tongue on the use of quotation mark. The Chief Justice said he was quoting me. He said, I call him Spanlet Cow in the newspaper. You go to the newspaper, there's nowhere in that newspaper any attribution was made where I call the Chief Justice Spanlet Cow. So in my letter of complaint, I said the Chief Justice violated the rules of tongue regarding the use of quotation mark. If you're going to quote somebody, you must quote them verbatim. He did not do so. He did not. Then
so you said your apology was for what reason? Did you see at some time that you disrespected the court or what?
What the court said. So as a lawyer, I can't go and say the court I apologize. I will not apologize. No, they disrespecting the court. You got to say Mr. Court or Mr. Chief Justice, because it was the Chief Justice who wrote the opinion, who delivered the opinion, right? So you have to say, you say I will apologize, I apologize. That what the court said. You gotta respect what the court said. But I disagree with the court. Even if you were to go to the ruling of the court, the ruling of that court is also problematic because it does not even say anything about the efficacy of what the statute that they were quoting for the first time in the history of the Republic of Liberia.
Anthony Jackson, I have disagreement here. If you didn't do anything wrong, I would never apologize when I know I don't do anything wrong. So on what ground were you apologizing if you are saying to me you did not do? I mean, are you the one who want to please people even at your own against your own will?
Yes. Right? Yes. As a lawyer, you are obliged to obey the court's opinion. All right?
Okay.
So even though I disagree with that opinion, I am duty bound to abide by the court opinion. But I can come and give a critique of the court opinion, which I am doing, right? For example, one of the things the court said, which I think was very strange in its ruling, for the first time the court was ruling in the matter, it doesn't even discuss the efficacy of the case. There were several things that were wrong with that case. If you're looking for a case that would serve as a classic example of a miscarriage of justice, go to my case. Go to my case. The Chief Justice issued an order in that case for the renewal of my passport. As I sat down here today, I've not gotten that passport. I filed a bill of information to the Chief Justice, informing him that I've not gotten the passport. The Chief Justice played blind eye to the bill of information. You understand?
Let me hold you there. So this is the letter of apology you wrote at the time. Dated September 14, 2019, His Honor Francis S. Kwakwa, Chief Justice, Supreme Court of Liberia, Temple of Justice, Capitol Hill, Monrovia. May I please, Your Honor, you write, I present my compliment and sincere apologies to you and the entire judiciary for statement made during the recent proceeding into the matter of grave concerns to me and my family. I deeply regret the comments which were born out of the depth of frustration and indignations to which my family and I have been subjected in the judge adjudication of this urgent matter. I look to the court. Is it different?
It was a different letter. That letter,
Okay.
let me tell you the background to that letter, right?
Okay.
That letter was written to inform the court. And one of the things the chief justice did over there, also he violated the rules of the tone on the issues of our fundamental fairness. All right, the doctrine of fundamental fairness. So the chief justice was quoting that letter, even though we wrote several letters. I wrote that letter. That letter was 3 pages, and the chief justice did, you know what he did? He had to only one paragraph and put it in the opinion. But that letter, the content of that letter basically was to draw the chief justice attention to the suffering and the indignation that my family and myself were going through in London, right? We have filed a bill of information informing the court. It has taken almost 2 years since the chief justice gave order for us to renew the passport. The passport has not been renewed. We cannot even walk around freely in London because we don't have valid documents. So, and my wife mother, my mother-in-law died in the process. My wife wanted to have gone to Liberia to attend her mother's funeral. A mother is close to the women heart, to anybody heart. And so she wanted to go to Liberia. So when my wife contacted me, my mom, I want to go and attend the funeral of my mother. We then have to write the chief justice a soft communication. So, Mr. Justice, I got information that my criticism of you in the front page Africa, you are displeased about it. But look, let's leave the displeasure about the criticism in the front page Africa. That criticism was born out of genuine suffering and the indignation to which my family have been subjected for over 2 years. And so, Your Honorable, here is a situation we're dealing with. My wife's mother just passed away. She wants to go to Liberia to attend the funeral and bring closure to this matter. Could you please enforce your order that was given on April 16, 2019, that the government or the executive should renew our passport? Could you please enforce that? The Chief Justice read that letter and looked the other way. He made no effort whatsoever. In every jurisdiction around the world, when the court gives an order, that order should be carried out. And if the court order is not carried out, the court is under obligation to invite the party to show cause why the order is not carried out. In my case, Chief Justice Kobo did not muster the courage to invite either the Minister of Foreign Affairs or the Maritime Authority to give reason why my passport was not given.
And so up to now, you don't have your passport. Your family don't have.
Forget about now. Up to now, I do not have the passport. And I got children. I got 2 girls' children. My children fundamental rights to free movement being curtailed. And the Chief Justice says it in the office. Indifference, unconcern about the suffering of my family. And he wants you and myself and the public to believe that he's human right man, right? The issue of passport, okay, is one of the inalienable rights. I'm a natural born Liberian person. As per my assignment here, I was entitled to diplomatic passport. I have a fundamental right to free movement. That right to free movement has been curtailed, including my 2 girls' children. She just said, "I'm not concerned about your girls' children. I will suspend your lesson. You will not practice law for 1 year because you criticized me. You are in America. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States of America, John G. Roberts, being criticized by people every day, including judges. The recent judge, Amy Conner Berry, criticized Chief Justice Roberts on the Barack Obama health bill. Chief Justice Roberts was very much in tune to a Barack Obama health bill, and the lady said, "But wait now, why the Chief Justice is doing this? This is unfair. He paid too much attention to the Barack Obama health bill," and that lady, a conservative circuit judge, criticized. Did they suspend her? Nobody suspended Judge Barrett until in recent time. President Trump didn't put her on the Supreme Court bench. You understand it? So we say we competing after America. How come we do not have the courage to weather criticism? And I tell you what is true. Let me make the point on my case, right?
Yeah.
So it's another action by the Chief Justice, which I also thought miseducate the public. The Chief Justice, in the ruling that you saw, he said they used a maxim in law. The ruling they gave was not based on law. It was not based on rule of law. It was based on a legal maxim. The legal maxim is expressio in neos exclusio arterias, right? What it says is that when the letter clearly says this, then it excludes an order, which means that the letter appointing me expressly said that I am appointed as permanent representative. And so it did not say I am deputy commissioner, and so I am not deputy commissioner, I am diplomat. I mean, look at the logic the court use. That anytime you use that maxim has been criticized, discredited by serious lawyers and judges across the world. They always say that maxim is what? It's a good servant, but it's a dangerous master. I mean, the court should not always use it. But that one court used to say, I'm not qualified. But Justice Cockburn forgot that there is also a concept that is called distinction without difference. So, for instance, I gave you one example of distinction without difference, right? Mm-hmm. For example, the Solicitor General. The letter appointing the Solicitor General doesn't say Solicitor General Deputy Minister. But it is clear that the Solicitor General is at the rank of the Deputy Minister. Correct? In fact, if you do administrative law, the Solicitor General is the principal deputy, because the work of the Ministry of Justice is to prosecute. There are those who will say administratively it is the Deputy Minister of Administration. But if you come to the operational language, the principal deputy for the Ministry of Justice in the operational term is the Solicitor General. Can anybody intelligently say because the letter appointing the Solicitor General say Solicitor General, they are not Deputy Minister? That's the argument Justice Cockburn made. But Justice Cockburn forgot to know in his opinion that the position of permanent representative have always been at the rank of deputy commissioner, and besides that, the position always been a diplomatic position. The only thing that was done is that the 2010 Act introduced the issue of tenure as a way of protecting me. The permanent representative is the guy who communicates, okay, everything about the Liberia maritime program to the rest of the world. And somebody sitting down somewhere and say, oh no, you're not deputy commissioner, you're just permanent representative. The permanent representative is part of the leadership of the maritime. The law says this tenure is intended to protect the leadership of the maritime. But still, just a couple of look the other way. So if you look at the ruling, they miseducate the public. You ask them, what is the judicial the judicial ideological doctrine behind the ruling? They will not tell you. They will not tell you the jurisprudential ideology behind that ruling. If you talk about the jurisprudential ideology behind the ruling, you know what you're talking about? You're talking about whether or not the case was decided on the basis of a purposive doctrine of the law, or whether or not the case was decided on the basis of an originalist view of the law. The originalist view of the law is almost like a conservative view of the law, looking straight at the letter of the law. But they put everything aside, and yes, they mayor, he permanent representative, he diplomat. Now, if you say a permanent representative and diplomat, then what you need to do is to give me diplomatic passport. Up to now, I still do not have diplomatic passport. And Justice Cockburn doesn't even care about what happened to me and my family now. He gone. I mean, this is the man who said people should consider him a human rights man. I got 2 girls children and 1 boy child. 3 children. They are sitting down here. They're supposed to be in charge of the diplomatic passport. The court is not concerned about what happened to us in London. And the man said people should call him human rights man. That's the other side he wants for people to get from him, right? They say, Michael Francis brought me up, a human rights man. You human rights man, and you are presiding over the abuse of the fundamental rights of citizens, and you are presiding over and justifying, the unlawful incarceration of people during the 1979 Rest Riot.
All right.
You want people to take you seriously.
Anthony Jackson, thank you again, folks in cyberspace. You are watching Focus on Liberia. This is a special edition here with me, Anthony C.A. Thanks for watching, and our guest is Anthony Atty Jackson Jr., and we have been talking about a revisionism. We simply mean that somebody is saying something other than what the fact is. Very recently, Chief Justice Francis Cockburn made a statement that during the Rest riots, individuals like Bacchus, Gabriel Matthew, and others who were arrested, according to him, cannot be considered as political prisoners, and that is completely untrue and say so. Anthony Jackson is here to set the record straight. In fact, those people did not get due process. They were arrested. They were incarcerated. They stay in jail, I believe, for several days. And Justice Kpokpo, who understands or who sees himself as a man of the law, to come to say they were not political prisoners, even though those people were known to be political actors at the time. Anthony Jackson is saying the man who is the head of the judiciary branch of government will look at the gross human rights violation. Not only were their human rights violated, their political rights were also violated. They were not given due process, nothing. And this is the Chief Justice, the man who should interpret the law, will look at these violations and say those people were not political prisoner. Asa Jackson felt the need to come here to set the record straight. But we have to make progress. He has made a point that he is a politician as well. And his beloved party, Liberty Party, did something. It was not to his pleasing. Liberty Party elected Hassan Musa Bility. Hassan, from reports, there are questions against his person, against his character. But I think, as Jackson is saying, giving this cloud hanging over him, he's the wrong guy for that party to be chairman of that party. And so he is here also to talk about that. But before we can bring him in, we have a clip for you. And who is in that clip? The newly elected chairman, Hassan Bility. He made news. And these are some of the things Jackson is saying. No, let's watch, let's listen, and then we'll bring in Jackson.
Cause my man, I will cause your man. You cause my pa, I will cause your pa. Ask me question, I am obligated to answer that question. And I promise you, I will answer it. If you are not satisfied with my answer, come again, I will give you clarification. But let's be civilized. So, you took George we are made president because he took care of the national team. Because he took his own money and financed the national team. More than Jesse, more than Kate. I do the same thing. Then he said, I can make man. I told you, cause my man, I will cause your man. You cause my pa, I will cause your pa. Ask me question, I am obligated to answer that question. And I promise you, I will answer it. If you are not satisfied with my answer, come again, I will give you clarification.
So there you have it, the newly elected chairman of the opposition Liberty Party, the party of the late Charles Walker Bronsky. He's saying, as though the questions against his character and not enough, and he's saying, you cost my man, I will cost my pa. He went further to say, whoa, Joe, we are told your own money, finance the national team, and you people say, that's good. You elected him president. I did the same thing. I chairman, why are you people making noise for? Anthony Jackson, it's your time to respond. And go ahead.
Well, thank you. It is good. The first thing we need to do is to dissect the dishonesty associated with the statement by Mr. Bility. You see, they say liar always begin by making truth to appear like falsehood and end by making falsehood instead of the truth. Mr. Bility started in that clip. He said, "You voted for George Weah." But these people that Mr. Bility trying to cast expression on for voting for Mr. George Weah, they were not the only people who voted for George Weah. In fact, Bility actively campaigned and endorsed Mr. George Weah and even encouraged some of those people to vote for George Weah. How can he not come and be blaming the people for voting for George Weah? Are you not aware? Have you not seen Mr. Bility t-shirt?
I am aware.
Wearing CDC t-shirt, contrary to Councillor Bronsky's advice that we should not support the CDC. I don't have problem with who supports CDC, but I have problem with Mr. Bility utter dishonesty to blame people who he encouraged to support CDC and come and say you support the CDC. Yeah. So Mr. Bility is a dishonest man. This man is genetically incapable of talking truth. He lied about everything brazenly. He lied brazenly about everything. So that's the first thing you got to look at that thing. Mr. Bility, it was not the people alone that supported George Weah. You campaign, you endorsed Mr. George Weah for the second round against Councillor Bronsky advice. So why are you blaming our people for supporting George Weah? That's wrong. So the first dishonesty there, we got to pick that dishonesty apart. The second thing is, Mr. Ability, try to be dishonest even with the truth. To say that, Mr. Joy, we are, was supporting the Lone Star and you're endorsing. The facts are dissimilar. The analogy cannot be the same. All right? Mr. Ability is being accused of supporting a quote unquote of he being criticized in the public, for quote unquote buying car for Liberty Party because he is suffering under the weight of a huge corruption allegation. Unlike Mr. Josh Weir, everybody knows that Mr. Josh Weir support to the Lone Star, or everybody knew Mr. Josh Weir's support to the Lone Star came from his earnest labor on the pitches of PSD. While he was playing in Europe, his passion for soccer, he made his earnest living from the soccer pitch, and said, from my earnest living, I will support the team. So the Liberian people could not have criticized Josh Weir. Why would they have criticized him? Nobody had accused Mr. Joe Weir for corruption then when he was playing soccer. So the people knew. The Liberian people are intelligent people. They are wise, Mr. Ability. So the facts are dissimilar. You cannot draw a parallelism that, Mr. Weir supported Lone Star people embracing, I'm supporting Liberty Party, and people criticizing me. No, Mr. Ability, people are criticizing you because they genuinely believe that the money you are using is dark money. It doesn't come from a good source. And so you are under the weight of corruption allegation. People want to know, what is the source of your money? So you can't compare oranges and apple. It's wrong.
And Anthony Jackson, that's the question I want to ask you. You are saying he's using dark money. Do you know the sources of his money for which you are classifying the money to be dark money?
See, now what call about the money to be dark money? Dark money is the money we saw you don't know. I don't know the sources of Mr. Ability money. So it's a dark money. Nobody, Mr. Ability has not been able to convincingly tell where he getting all the money from to support the Lone Star.
Anthony Jackson, it's not necessarily so. If I decide to render some assistance to you as a friend, will you say, my man, where you getting the money from? If I say, my man, I'm working. Ability is a businessman. To conclude that because you don't know the source of the money, it's automatically dark money. I don't think you are putting all the facts out here. So, make yourself clear.
But here's the point.
Okay.
If you, my friend, see, if you were suffering under the burden of a huge corruption allegation, I would be very hesitant to take money from you. Because a cloud of suspicion of corruption hover over you, which take away your credibility in a way. You are not a citizen in good standing when you are accused of committing that crime. And Mr. Ability is not just accused of committing one crime. Mr. Ability is also accused of tax evasion, FIFA banging. Let me say something to you that people have not picked up yet.
Okay.
Mr. Ability, there are two Liberians that have put Liberia on the map negatively. Charles Taylor and Mr. Ability. Charles Taylor was sentenced to jail for 50 years by an internationally respected court. Mr. Ability banned for 10 consecutive years by an internationally respected body like the FIFA. These two people have ruling against them by international bodies that do not represent our country well. We should be concerned about that. We should be. So that man here cannot come and say he draw a parallelism or an analogy with Mr. Weir. Mr. Weir earnestly earned his money. He was not under any allegation or any suspicion of corruption allegation when he was supporting the Lone Star. So the Liberian people being intelligent could not have accused Mr. Joy Weir. Said, but why are you supporting Lone Star? Because they knew the source of Mr. Weir's money. In that instant case, Mr. Ability, the sources of Mr. Ability money are basically dodgy. They are dark because he is laboring under the burden of a massive corruption allegation. So that's the other thing. The other thing that we got to say about the statement Mr. Ability made is to claim that, when somebody calls me, I will curse them. Now, somebody who wants to be leader in the country, is that how you respond? So what Mr. Ability did there, he was not abiding by the highest standard. And he demonstrated the lack of intellectual gravitas or wherewithal to intelligently respond. Because no leader will say to you as a leader, when somebody insults me, I will insult them back. Then what the statement of Mr. Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, what does it mean to ability? He said, the woman said, when they go low, we got to go high. Because we are abiding by the highest standard. Your ability, when you call my mouth, of course, so ability, what he now say, will be trading in so all around. And the question that people ask Mr. Ability, which he never wanted them to ask him, was where his father came from. Because there was a massive rumor that Mr. Ability's father came from Ivory Coast and he was expelled from Liberia for money laundering by former President Doe. So that's not an insult, it's a genuine inquiry. Is that true? Was your father expelled for money laundering by Doe? Mr. Ability, yes or no? Explain to our people. You see, but to get vexed and say, oh, when you curse my mom, you call my partner, I will get vexed, I will curse you, but that's not the hallmark of good leadership. So we'll be trading insult all over the place. You call Ability, curse you back. Then what's the highest standard? That's what I'm saying. Those of us who are concerned about the forward advance of Liberty Party, the long-term moral health of Liberty Party, it is important for us to come together. And I'm glad that the concerned Liberty parties are coming together to do the right thing, to ask Mr. Ability to step aside and clear his name. Because what he continued to do is to tarnish the good image of the Liberty Party. Liberty Party over the years have been seen as a party standing or situated itself as well an integrity institution. We can't have a guy now who say, when somebody calls me, I'll call him back. You can't have the highest standard anymore. What's he doing? Is that the standard now that the leader will abide by, brother? So, Mr. C.
Atty Jackson, I think when I listen to that statement all the time, I say, "Boy, wait now. This gentleman want to be leader in the country, and he cannot exercise the slightest patience or self-control. I mean, just on the main thread that, because according to it, say when you cause my man, I mean, on the main thread, somebody say, I will cause your man. Then you come and say, oh, if you do that. So what distinguishes him from others, if he who is the leader, who should be setting good example, is telling you that, look, if you attempt to insult me, I will insult back. I know the thing here is that, Jackson, you people already have this mess on your hands. We can blame Musa Ability all we want. There are leaders in your party who serve as the catalyst to this mess that you have on hands. So I agree with you on the issue of Musa Ability. The man has a cloud hanging on him. It does not speak well for him to be your leader. Legitimate concern, I'd agree. But what's about those who help him along the way?
You see, sometimes what I would say is there's an issue of, a gradualism, a gradual approach to cleaning the party up, right? So we have people who serve it as enabler. If I let me say this, when the judge, I think it's Robert Lusig, right? The judge of the criminal code, the international code. When they were sending Charles Taylor to jail, you know what the judge said? He said leadership should prosecute crime and not facilitate the commission of crime. That's what good leadership should do, right? That's what Judge Lusig said. In the instant case, any good leader will be asking Mr. Ability to step aside and not to harbor him, because that's the best standard around the world. In America, if you follow current event in America, there's this guy, Acosta, right? Acosta was the guy who did the sweetheart deal for Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein is the pedophile, right? And Acosta is the senior lawyer from Florida who did it. Epstein became Trump Secretary of Labor. When the scandal broke, that Jeffrey Epstein, that Acosta had done a sweetheart deal for Epstein, Acosta resigned as Secretary of Labor in Liberia, called the Minister of Labor. He resigned. In Liberia, when my former boss, Mr. Larry Bupley, you may be familiar with Larry Bupley.
Yes.
Larry Bupley was the Minister of Information. When the information broke that Larry Bupley was doing something unpalatable, like corruption, the government of Liberia asked Larry Bupley to resign as Minister of Information. They said, Larry Bupley, just be staying there until you fight the case to the end. Okay, I can give you the case with even Sister Parker. She was at the Freeport, managing director. When news broke that something wrong at the Freeport, she had to step aside. So that's
Yeah,
the best.
even the story of Willie Knuckles when it broke.
You step aside. So that's the best standard. You step aside for two reasons, principally, right? The number one reason why you step aside when you're involved with scandal is to preserve the image, the integrity of the institution. One. Number two, to not serve, so that you do not serve as a distraction.
Yeah.
So every now and then they gotta be pointing to you, or you gotta be going to your kids and all that stuff. You don't need all of that. That's why people normally step aside. So look, I will step aside and clear my name. So since the current leader of the party, in person of Madam Nobly Kanga Lawrence, is demonstrating this epic incompetence at exercising good leadership, which Judge Robert Lusa of the International Court already referenced to say, right, people commit crime, put them aside, deal with them, don't encourage them, don't harbor them. Since you're failing to do it, maybe the concerned partisan, the concerned Liberia partisan, will that need to flush the ability of the party. Because if you are a leader and you are not exercising your responsibility in keeping with the practice of the institution, then you have a problem. The last time I was talking to you about the president, right? Everywhere around the world, president is a banning doctrine. And sometimes I hear my friend Dylan, he'll be pretending that he's lawyer. Every day he passes around, he say he's lawyer. He's pretending about being lawyer. He said, oh, that Bronsky brought me up. Everything I'm doing, that Bronsky taught me law. Oh, Bill, my man, Mr. Dylan, you said Bronsky taught you law. Bronsky established a best practice in the party that when somebody is linked to corruption, that person steps aside and clear their name. There are ample evidence to show that that precedent was established in Liberty Party. A case with Akinsaya, a case with Ben Savi. Why, Mr. Dillon, are you refusing to follow the established precedent, saying you want us to believe that you are a lawyer, Bronsky man, Bronsky taught you the so-called law? The law, precedent is a banning law. And precedent, is a banning doctrine. If you know, when they say judges made law, right?
Right.
Conversation in law, when they say judges made law in jurisprudence, the precedent. When a judge decide a particular case in a similar way, is there similar cases that decided in similar manner? So precedent that judges made law. So let's take our friend Dylan, who wants to come across in the public as, a change agent. How can a man be a change agent? He cannot even muster the courage to ask a friend Belete who claimed to even supported his campaign to say, look, let's do the right thing. So Dylan himself is godless. All he's doing is to just pretend. He's not authentic. Because
are you saying Darius DeLong is not authentic?
No,
because he took money from Bility?
Yeah, yeah, but bro, if you know that this brother has been condemned, as a corrupt person, and then you go to that person who has been condemned as a corrupt person to pay for money, what are you doing? How can you justify, like you go into the darkness, you say you lie, right? Or you go into the darkness for support. What are you doing? It's not a man first time doing it, right? There was a case with a big brother pro tempore. I was here, even though and what Dylan keep doing, they're behaving like the Pharisees. The Pharisees? These are the people in the Bible who, in the day, they were taught sweet talk, and in the night, they made deals with criminals. That's what they're doing. In the day, they pretend like, oh, the Hosanna, Jesus Christ, that. In the night, they're cutting deals with rogues, with criminals, corrupt bandits. That's what Dylan has been doing over time. And he had to be called up for that. The men were in the neck, going to Atty and begging for money on his belly, crawling pathetically on his belly, in Atty kitchen and begging for money. Then he came in the Senate chamber and called the secretary and said, you spineless, you corrupt. So the man called him out. He said, but stop doing the petty you're doing. This is dangerous. You come to me in the night, you beg for money. I've given you money in the tune of close to 15,000. So in the night, you come in my kitchen, you crawl on your belly pathetically to beg me for money. Then in the day, you can't cost me. This attitude of the Pharisee, we got to stop. We got to stop it. That's the same thing Belete doing. He's almost acting like Pontius Pilate. You want to wash your hand of the CDC now. Oh, I only want to support that CDC. But Belete without record here. You endorse the CDC. You campaign for the CDC. How can you come to the Atty Center and blame us for voting for CDC? I don't have problem with people voting for CDC. What I have problem with is the utter dishonesty being exhibited by Mr. Belete, Mr. Delo, and Madam Nyobi Kanga Lawrence. It's dangerous. Look, my friend. if we're supposed to get a better Liberia, we have to exercise the moral courage to ask our friends hard questions and demand of them the best standard. We can't have a different standard for our friends and then have a different standard for people who are not our friends. You say you want a better Liberia, but you bring in it. Can you entrust your future to stability, your children's future to stability? Knowing all that you now know, can you do that? You see, that's the problem I have with some of our friends, okay, who are supporting Mr. Ability. What they are doing, they are repeating the past error. There were people who believed, driven by their selfish desire, believed that Mr. Charles Taylor was going to come from prison, even though he was accused of corruption, placed behind bars in America, took that man from prison wall and put gun in his hand and said, this corrupt bandit who was languishing in jail were going to deliver a better Liberia. And what did Taylor do? What did Charles Taylor do? Charles Taylor rule or regime was an unmitigated disaster. Today, some of those same people who brought Charles Taylor on us are washing their hands of Charles Taylor. They don't want to take any responsibility of the excesses that Charles Taylor committed. They're washing their hands. That's the same thing to do with disability. Soon and very soon they will start washing their hands of ability. Oh, we never tell you we're going to do this and you are going to do that. Look at the man's history. You bring that man on the Liberian people. And let me say this to Mr. Ability himself. If he's listening, Mr. Ability, those people who have given you the dark money, they don't respect you. They are abusing and using you the same way they use Charles Taylor. Because if those people genuinely believe that Mr. Ability was a good leader, they will identify with him in the public. Why is he not calling the supporter of me in the public? But the people believe that Mr. Ability is not a decent man to identify with in the public, so they're hiding their hands. They're not owning Mr. Ability.
Are you talking about Nyomli Kangar and Dillon that's been seen with Ability?
Nyomli Kangar got money. Ability doesn't take the money from Nyomli, but Ability supported Nyomli campaign too. That's why Nyomli had to inveigle the man to the chairmanship.
But they were at a convention.
No, I was not there.
I didn't say you. I said they were at a convention with Ability.
Yeah, but they are the one who inveigled the man to the chairmanship. They manipulated the man. They used all the rascality to put the man to the helm of power in the party because the man supported them. But the point I'm making is the people who are the financiers or the puppeteers who are controlling Mr. Ability do not respect Mr. Ability. You know the analogy you can draw from this? It's almost like the morally deprived man in the community who is over there flirting with this young girl because he doesn't see the young girl decent and fit to identify with her in the day. So he goes in the night and enjoy himself, and in the day he calls her and says, oh, that girl, that's something again. That's what they do with Mr. Ability. Because they know Mr. Ability is morally deprived, they cannot identify with him in the day. They're giving him money so that he will accomplish mission for them, and then tomorrow, Bob will go watching the
Mr. Jackson, what
are they doing to him?
Mr. Jackson,
they are abusing and using him.
Mr. Jackson,
as a puppet. So the puppeteers are remotely controlling him. So he will do dirty work for them because he's not a clean guy. If they believe Mr. Ability is a clean guy, those who giving him the 1,000 or the million he buying pick up. That's what they do to those girls, right? The girls, you give her money, then in the community, she will be acting as a real woman. Oh, I don't want to get over man, you can't give me money in the net. But in the day, if you try to tell that man know you value, he will identify with you in the day. Let Ability, so-called financiers, let them own him in the day. They will not do it.
Mr. Jackson,
morally all right.
Mr. Jackson, this is a political mess on the hands of those of you who believe in your party. I know there is this concern of partisans of the Liberty Party, which you happen to be a member of. But some people are saying that you are more like a lone wolf in the wilderness, asking the questions, and the leaders are not even following you. They're not paying attention to you. The man is still the chairman. So how do you solve this problem? That's the question I continue to ask.
You see, I will answer this question, and I will point to one of the challenges that are confronting our country.
Okay.
One of my friends called me, right? I will not call his name because I sure he doesn't want his name to be called. He said, oh, Isaac, you know, my man, the ability thing you're doing, you know, I mean, you might not succeed in anything, you know. So I said to him, I said, look, you know, the action we have taken, not my one, but assuming I'm the lone guy, right? I said, not my one, but assuming I'm the only guy. I said, it is good to stand for the right thing. One of the reasons why we have Mr. Dillon today to be senator is that some of the people who had the good character to represent our country believe that this Dillon had the winnable chance, so they didn't put themselves forward. And that's why Liberia continue to have a terrible leadership. Don't worry about defeat. Make a sellable case to the Liberian people and say, look, I am better than Dillon. If you want to carry Dillon, it will be on you. If Dillon underperform tomorrow, that's your trouble. But I'm a good guy. You see, if we do not stand up to say, oh, we have the pedigree, we have the credential, we have the moral rectitude to provide leadership. If our people don't listen to us, at least we have made our case. But some of the senior brothers, because they were afraid of defeat, they say, oh, Dillon come and win, so they can leave him. Nobody will go say anything. So today, Dillon underperforming. They now recognizing who are Dillon performers here, and they start getting surprised. Because Dillon even told the public, he told the Republicans and said, no, I don't have money. We borrow boys. Dillon start picking their pocket. We borrow boys were putting money together to support Dillon. Just to realize that why the Wheelbarrow boys were putting the 5 cents, 2 cents together because they believe the scan Dillon provided. Later on, they realized that Dillon had plenty of money from boostability. So they were shocked. I am saying Dillon is the honest guy, he must return the people money. Because if you took money from Mr. Ability to run your campaign, how did you now put the people on the false and lying pretext that you didn't have money and they have to raise money? Wheelbarrow people got to raise money from you. You see, so the point I'm trying to driving home is it matters little. Whether I fight and lose, whether I win, I'm fighting because something is wrong. This is not a genuine legacy that Bronsky will love to leave behind. That he will organize a party that will be inherited by somebody who has been accused internationally and locally for being a corrupt person. That was not what I showed. If Bronsky were to come back and lay for 2 minutes, Bronsky would Musa would not be chairman for Liberty Party. Because that's not what he left behind. And I'm calling on his daughter. Who, if you know your father value, I work with Councillor Bronsky, even though he must have disagreed at some point in time. But you will not work with Councillor Bronsky for 2 days and don't know the man. This man sacrificed personal risk to make Liberia a corruption-free country. Against Mr. Charles Taylor, who was killing people, ATU. He took personal risk to challenge Charles Taylor. That today, the party we all established is being headed by a guy who cannot explain himself properly regarding corruption issue. It's a shame. The alternative Bronsky legacy, and his daughter got to stand up. She shall join me and join the other concerned parties who are in Liberia and across the country who are asking Mr. Bennett to step aside. The daughter, you have a moral duty to make your father happy in the grave. Don't make your father shame by remaining silent. The party,
Mr. Jackson,
that Bronsky imbued in you as a daughter was not to who not accusing of to alleged criminals. That was not your father's legacy. That is not your father's legacy. You must stop challenging Bronsky. Wherever you are, you have a duty to represent your father well, not to sleep on this. I'm getting emotional now because we suffer to establish Liberty Party.
Mr. Jackson,
into the dogs.
Mr. Jackson,
I'm metaphorically speaking when I use dogs, right?
Yeah.
We are given to people who have absolutely zero credibility. Zero credibility.
Mr. Jackson.
Look, you're coming. You check behind Dillon. Check a credibility record. Up to now, Dillon has not been able to convince anybody which high school he graduated from. In 2004, Dillon said he graduated from St. Peter Clever High School in Buchanan, Grand Bassa. Later on, he said, no, he didn't graduate from St. Peter Clever High School. He graduated from Well Headstone. How can one man graduate from 2 high schools the same time, 1989? How? The man cannot even show convincingly which high school he graduated from. He doesn't even have a wire certificate to produce. This is the man who represented your party. The other man graduated from Zion when Zion was associate degree. When Zion associate degree was not even being accepted by the University of Liberia. People who do not even believe in elevating themselves, investing in themselves, are the people now leading Liberty Party. They lack all the intellectual wherewithal and intellectual gravitas to convince people that Liberty Party is a party of integrity. The party that I have to establish is dying before my eyes. And I'm passionate and I'm emotional about this. Chasters and Specs are providing leadership in the party that I have to establish. And Bronsky and the other sitting down and she's acting scary. She's scary for what? Your father was a courageous man. He was a courageous man. He challenged Charles Taylor with all the guns around him. Even though he had to flee the country, we encouraged him to come back. And we fought along with him, even at the risk of our lives. In 2002, when Charles Taylor was trying to kill us, where was Nyobli Kanga Lawrence? She was hanging around with Chief Cyril Ali, one of Charles Taylor's henchmen who wanted to kill us. Today, she pompous and passing around and calling herself political leader, political non-entity. What does she bring to the table? Zero. Do you remember anything about Nyobli Kanga Lawrence? What's she passionate about? Let she explain to you what has she done in the legislature? All of the wasting tea on people. That's why we're born on third base. She won't Alex. She scores on double trade. That's a joke. That's a joke. And what they are doing, they are tarnishing the cherished memory and legacy of Councillor Bronski by bringing on people who have zero credibility to provide leadership of the party. They will kill the party. They will kill that party.
Anthony Jackson, I see that the passion has come out. I was just about to ask a question, but I think you answered that question. I wanted to know whether, with all of you saying so far and also saying, it said that the Liberty Party is compromised on many fronts. Because here's the thing, there's this insulting now that has become normal, and I want you to speak to this. You are a politician, right? Insults have become normal. Costa insults vehemently, and many others, and this is how they get their views in Liberia through to these people. And so maybe your newly elected chairman say, well, let me walk this path too, because now it has become something that has been accepted by the people in Liberia. But my question is, you are a politician, you always find opportunity and use it to come to prominence. Are you making this noise now because you see the political blunders of these leaders in your party and you say, I'm going to step there and then I'm going to come up high? Or are you doing it to redeem your party, or are you trying to stand up for truth in Liberia?
I am trying to stand up for truth, brother. You know, you talk about my friend Costa. You know, I mean, he's human being. Sometimes, you know, he get emotional, but he's doing his best. You know, under the circumstances, he's doing his best. What we are doing as concerned Liberty partisans, we're not basically looking for any attention. My friend, I've tried my best to have been in the public. I've done my part. I have to lay the foundation stone of the Liberty Party. Even the retreat that's being organized. One of the founding members, impressive of Lami Kwagoy, somebody who is morally upright. Lami is currently in London. He tells me he will fly back to Monrovia to attend and speak at the retreat on March 27. Lami Kwagoy has a unique history in the Liberty Party because he was the person who wrote the first letter to Bronski to say, you disagree with Chancellor Ayamari of course, come back to Liberia. We mobilize people to see how we can carry you forward. Lami Kwagoy, he said, I'm passionate as it. I will take my plane fare and go back to Liberia and go to my DB and speak at the convention. A young brother called Merchant is in Liberia mobilizing people. He will be in Charlesville. He will stand up to speak truth to power. Liberia needs people with courage for a better Liberia. We don't need people who are pretentious and making gains, acting like the Pharisee, like my friend Dylan. In the day, you talk blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. In the next, you cut deals with corrupt people. That's not what Liberia needs. Liberia needs men with courage who have moral rectitude to stand up and speak truth to power. And listen, one of my young brother asked me, he said, why you right now you're looking like you're difficult on the opposition. What happened? You're going slow on the government. I said to the young brother, young brother, what do you expect? I said, the politics now I'm concerned about is not to engage in an advocacy that takes me from the what? From the frying pan to the fire heart. Yeah, because anybody who stands behind Mele Musa ability and believe Musa ability is an alternative to Joe Weah is not serious. It means you won't get from frying pan to get in fire. Joe Weah became president of Liberia when he was not accused of stealing anything. Today, you get allegations against him. Musa he's a new person who has myriad of corruption scandal involving him. And you want to entrust your children's future to ability, brother? Is that what you want to do? You sure you want to do that? And you say I should keep quiet until ability ascends to power. Then before I start talking, brother, stop it. We have to see the danger. That's what good leadership is. Good leadership can see danger and avert it. What is coming toward us, that danger? One more pay. You may not like one more pay. You may hate him. But you know what one more pay said? He said the opposition is not a waiting room for group of criminals to regroup. Okay? Opposition is not waiting room for what? What I would call vampires and ghouls to again regroup and what? Seize onto the country. We cannot allow that. It cannot be a waiting room for ghouls and vampires. So we got to be careful. We have to stand up and say, look, if we want to find alternative to Mr. These people got to be people who are all right. They must have their integrity in time so that the disco will be very clear. But if you carry Mr. Betty as chairman, how do you then argue against the CDC people and say, say for example, Ellis Tyler is corruption king kong? Can you muster that moral rectitude or that moral courage, that moral high ground to look at Ellis Tyler and say corruption king kong when you get Belletti? Belletti almost like corruption king kong too in Liberia. Every major corruption scandal in Liberia can Mr. Belletti name inside. From what? Road fund, tax evasion, economic support, you name all of them. He involved in near everything. So the point I'm making here is, brother, this is not about me to get any prominent. I have named few people, who are basically working around the clock for Chester needs a young brother in America. Chester Nee has been putting his personal money into this campaign. He's doing well. He's trying his best. He doesn't have much. Jubel Colley, what the other people? Few other brothers, they're trying their best.
Anthony Jackson.
No, it's not about Asset Jackson. It's about a genuine effort to rescue the party from the fall. It's a genuine effort to provide a better alternative to the CDC. So it's not I don't hate Belletti. I love Belletti as a brother. All that I'm saying, Mr. Belletti, could you please clear your name? How is that difficult? How is that hard?
Anthony Jackson. So you are working on this retreat.
Yes.
What do you hope to accomplish at that retreat?
That
will make the Liberty Party better or put it on a path to a great party.
What we intend to do, normally when we have the retreat, before then we reflect on the values of the party. We remind ourselves and the parties that the party has values. We have zero tolerance for corruption. We believe in reconciliation. We believe in rebuilding our country. We believe basically in running a country under the supremacy of the rule of law. And if we are going to continue along those lines, the line of democratic centrists, then brother, we have to forget about these people who are there Johnny Khan lately, who are desperate, to seize onto the political bandwagon for their own needs sake and be true to ourselves. So we want to again see whether we can, in a way, rejuvenate the spirit, the idealism that indeed Liberty Party stands for something. And so when those young brothers go there, maybe I will join them via telephone and allow me speak to them. Arona Fala speak to them, and they hear the funding objective of the party. Maybe they themselves will start protesting in the street and preventing Mr. Belletti from coming anywhere close to the party. Those are the things that we want to achieve. Those are the things we want to achieve. We want our people to understand that Liberty Party was not just established to be any of the other parties.
So if you rescue your party, election is fast approaching, you know that. What happened next? Are there political actors in Liberia that you see? I'm asking the question because one party can't win it now because there are too many of them. So are you looking at the future too?
Oh yeah, obviously we're looking at the future. Even though we criticize him and Anyombi Kanga for incompetence, but we believe in the collaborative effort. We believe in the collaborative effort of the CPP. What we are concerned about is for the attempt by people to break out the CPP for their selfish agenda. And listen to my friend, and he made a very good analogy, Costa, and one of the things he said was the issue of the CPP, certain things got to be commonsensical. The vice president, Joe Boakai, has been vice president before. He came second, a strong second in the just ended election. It is only obvious but proper that he will hear the ticket. Do you want to suggest Vice President Bwaka, who came second and had been Vice President before, to Nyomli Kanga to be Vice President of Nyomli Kanga? Is that logical, brother? We can reinvent the wheel. I mean, you know what I mean? This is
so Bwaka is an automatic standard bearer for the CPP.
The point I am making is, if you have somebody of that standard, how can you then, be looking for a new person to head the CPP? In a way, So the point is a common sensical thing. Normally, they not even win Grand Bassa convincingly. I think either Gongro got more votes in Nimba than normally got in Bassa. So you want her to hear the party, bro? You want her to hear the CPP? You want to teach. So anybody like Musa Belete who get on radio and say, I want Nyomli Kanga to hear the CPP, is not authentic. It's not genuine.
You have Delon the Light. There is also Elizana Cummings in the CPP.
Yes. So, but the point here is, even with Cummings came what in almost 4th place, right? So, my friend, I do not want people to overthink and create problem for the CPP, because that's what you're going to have. If you have a divided opposition, I'm afraid we will witness another CDC victory.
From what I'm hearing from you, Atty Jackson, what I'm hearing from you, the only good in this, what I'm hearing from you, I'm sensing from you, is that the only good in the CPP now is the fact that Bwaka, having to be a member, he served as vice president for 12 years, whatever the records are, that may not matter, and he was able to accrue more votes when he came second. So he's the obvious choice, right? Is that the only good? And how good is that for Liberia? Because up to now, Jackson, the CPP does not have a plan. It does not even have a website.
No, but I agree with you. Let me say this. I agree with you. I myself been criticizing the CPP, right? So I'm on record, but I'm just saying, it's not a perfect institution. I have been criticizing the CPP. I have said to you that the CPP, is in the government. They are almost like two lazy teams. I wrote that article on Facebook. They all both of them having spectacular chances and they're screwing it up big time. But that's what we have now to work with. Like you said, I may not say he's obvious, but politically speaking, though, it's the presumptive leader of the opposition bloc, if you say the CPP. I mean, people can find a tearway, right? But there's not much, or there's not much tarnishes, or there's no tarnishes to the character of Mr. Bwaka. But there are several tarnishes to the character of my friend Belete, which you all know about. My sister Nyomli did not win convincingly in Grand Bassa for her to hear the CPP ticket. That be realistic.
So Anthony Jackson, you don't have any political appetite for something new from away from the CPP. There are Liberians across the globe that are competent.
No, I can. Again, like I said to you, there is also an option for a strong term, alternative, right? If we think the CPP is getting it wrong, like for example, what the CPP is not doing, and I said in one of my articles, right? I said the CPP cannot cast itself as a change agent or an institution that wanting change for Liberia when it is dancing behind and supporting the legs ability. CPP has to, in the word I use was, to throw a cordon sanitaire around the Liberty Party. When you throw cordon sanitaire, in a way you quarantine the Liberty Party, politically speaking. You go in there and tell the Liberty Party people through what I would call diplomatic signaling and say, look, the chairman you got guy here is going to embarrass all of us. You got to do something about it. We do that in diplomacy. You do diplomatic signaling. I mean, Joe Bwaka can already go to say in the public, but he could, in a way, say with Nyomli and say, don't listen, man, there's not too much in your party. And I want to say, I think the Musa man here, look, let call a shovel, man. Or let call
Bwaka himself needs the money. Bwaka is acting as though he's broke.
So, but then if they think it's about money and not credibility and integrity, and then Liberia is doomed, bro.
But that's why it is. The CPP has no credibility. The entire CPP has no credibility. From Bwaka They all have no credibility. I can say that.
But let's take our time with the critics. The critics are Waka, but let's take our time with the criticism of Waka. Waka served for 12 years, right? Of the 12 years he served, there are not real serious challenges to a character that I know of. Like Torso and Torso. I mean, that's not real challenges to his character. So, but imagine a guy who even can near our man Billy the brother. Look at Billy the brother. Even my sister Nyomli. What is Nyomli? Political acumen, ACUNEN, the cleverness. What has she shown? Nobody ran against a lazy candidate in Bassa. Bezonga Finley, and she could not win convincingly.
You call Bezonga a lazy candidate?
Oh, I mean, when I say lazy, in the sense that when the campaign started, the odds were against Bezonga. Bezonga had to deal with a massive passport scandal. All right? It's unamassed him. The second thing that Bezonga had to even deal with was the anger from our people that he sat down in a docile manner and could not do anything as foreign minister to get my passport. The other thing that he did, which also played against him, was that Louis Garcia Brown, one of the intellectuals in our community, the Bassa community, was withdrawn from the UN under the penmanship, the signature of Bezonga Finley. And the Bassa people told him, how can you take one of our intellectuals, pull him back from the UN, and you have the influence with the president, and you're doing nothing, and you let me, Louis is sitting down under him? How can you do this?
Apparently he was protecting his bread.
But then that's not good leadership, because good leadership got to watch out for other competent people. I mean, good leadership is where you bring people with good talent, and all you need to do motivate them so they do what they got to do independent. That's what good leadership is. Spotting, because good leadership starts with what? Forming your team. Finding people who got competence to come and do serious things for the country. So, so like I said, like the point I'm trying to drive home is, so Bezonga had no liabilities to deal with. You withdraw Louis Garcia Brown, a towering intellectual. Let me say something about Louis that people don't know. The chancellor who had disgracefully left power in Liberia, it was due to the intellectual and diplomatic dexterity of Louis Brown that chancellor did not end up disgracefully. He negotiated skillfully, and what chancellor did, he ended in Calabar. That's Louis. Louis headed the transitional team. That's a diplomatic skill. When he went to the UN, he put Liberia on the back. Liberia remained respected. He was heading influential committee. That kind of man. What the difference that the government had with that man? They pull him back and say, "Nah, Morovia." You see what Liberia doing? You see what we're doing? Somebody like me, brother. I came to London, the first permanent representative of Liberia who had the opportunity to meet with the Queen. Never, no permanent representative in the history of our country ever met with Her Majesty, the Queen. I did. I also, with the team here, headed a campaign to talk about the reform of the IMO. And that reform agenda is in full swing at the IMO. Liberia did. So what happened? The government came and said, they with me, they pulled me back. We are pulling back our serious people, and the serious people were pulling back. They were all under the signature of Mr. Bezonga Finley. So he was a liability ambassador. In that sense, I said he was a weak candidate. And then nobody could not even win him convincingly, right? Convincingly. I think nobody won with a vote different of 13,000, right? So what there about?
Something around that.
So it's somebody who won in Basel because of vote average even declined. The number of votes he got before declined drastically. So if nobody had a strong candidate against her, she will not be senator today.
Thank you.
So the point I'm making here is she is not, in the real sense of the word, a very popular politician in the country she even comes from. So for her to hear the ticket because they say so, she's a female, and she will be. I mean, Joe Waka cannot be, a vice president. It's just inconceivable. It's
I agree. Normally has nothing to be a national candidate, or you can't overstate that.
Look at Angela Merkel. Look at even Angela Merkel. Check the women who provide leadership around the world. Margaret Thatcher, strong women. You can look at Musa Belete in the face. Musa, listen, the party has an established precedent. The precedent is a binding doctrine in the law. Musa, you have to step aside.
She's just sitting there. She's just sitting there. Well, it's obvious, why? Because Musa needed to provide the funding for her campaign, and she and Dillon needed to reciprocate by giving him the chairmanship of the party. They sold it for 30 pieces of silver. Let me bring in comments from folks watching us here in cyberspace. Time a fast spend. We have 10 minutes left. Let's hear from folks who are doing well by following us here. Prince Fanon Jackson, you need to recap the statement made by the Chief Justice. All right, let's hear this one from Saki White. We all agree that Popo is himself corrupt, who has a very corrupt Supreme Court, but we also know Atty Jackson to be a belly-driven, loudmouth sycophant out for his own interest. Somebody is coming after my guest. Let me see this one from that's James Nimo Gabia, I believe. Achis Pompon don't know the value of life, so let him feel the pain. My God, have mercy. Somebody has no compassion. It has nothing to do with the Chief Justice. However you look at it, someone writes. Let me see this one from the same person. What law holds the Chief Justice responsible? Someone is asking a question. Mayfield Deco. How good are you in football, man? You can't even match me because you said Mayfield Deco. All right, let me read this one. Chief Justice Francis Popo has brought the judicial branch of government to its lowest point, especially in the 21st century. Popo is a disgrace, he writes. Let's get the one from Mayfield again. Mayfield writes, I just hope that action don't throw Liberia back into the dark days. Maybe his actions don't throw Liberia in the dark days. That person might be trying to say. Yeah, from Saki again, Saki White. We all agree. I think I read that one. I think he just reposted it. Yeah, from Jefferson Camara. You are misinterpreting the statement. You can say whatever you want to say. He is the chairman, and you cannot do anything about it. Somebody is telling us responsibilities, the chairman, you can't do anything. I see why you are going through this problem. Axel W. Jackson Jr. Somebody is saying, I don't know, maybe because of the way you are a little more politically bombastic, for lack of better word, comrade. But the so-called light stability is in good standing with party, maybe with the party, and no one should question his election. Let me see this one. He will not do that, and nothing you guys will do about it. I think this person is saying Pogba is not going to resign. That was when you said that man should resign and save the country an embarrassment. Eugene writes, which one you contributed, which one those who contribute? Let me leave that one. It's not perfect the rating. I can't figure out. Time against me here. Let me read this one from Gina Johnson. Atty Jackson is an angry man desperately seeking attention. According to you, Dillon does not have wire certificate, but he was overwhelmingly elected twice by the people of Monserrato County. You who have all the degrees, you stuck in London begging for job. Go find something else to talk. Someone is going after you. Larry Reeves. You envy Dillon, but you can never be like him. I agree with that one. He's different. Scientifically, we are all different. He's not trying to be like Dillon. Let me see this one from Deco is busy. Atty Jackson said so many good things, but he is someone who flip-flops. I mean, he is very quick to change like he did to Madam Johnson Sirleaf. Somebody is saying during Ellington, you were loud, but when you were given that piece of job, you were pretty sinking. That person is trying to say. Atty Jackson is for nothing, loud mouth hustler. Well, Atty Jackson, my dear brother, a few comments from folks following the conversation here. We have to wrap this up. We are left with 6 minutes. Respond to the comments and let's get your closing statement.
Again, as I respect the views expressed. What I'm concerned about, principally, is the forward advance of Liberia. And for Liberia to make good progress, we cannot continue to repeat previous mistakes. For instance, we started with just a couple of things, which I think is the crux of the conversation here. All the other political things, I'm concerned because, you see, the court is supposed to be the bulwark of our democracy. If the court messes up, Liberia democracy will be substantially undermined. I told my friends before, enormous pressure must be placed on the court to be independent of the executive. Because if the court is not independent of the executive, what you have will be a puppet Supreme Court. For Liberia to go forward, I hear them talking about rebranding the court and spending money on people going on radio station and talking. It's not what you talk, it's what you do. Action. It's important. One justice. What would first let's see what we should not do. What we should not do, or what that court should not do, or what the Chief Justice should not do, is to repeat some of the things that former Justice Balaze did. You know, former Justice Balaze, I respect and peace to his actions, but it was under his leadership that Master Sergeant Samuel K. Doe almost controlled the judiciary, so to speak, if I may say so. Balaze was giving in to every demand of Kenya Doe. And so, on his watch as Chief Justice, the country witnessed the death of over 250,000 people. Balaze, we cannot afford that. People must show courage. One person, one associate, one justice, Chief Justice, who showed massive courage that I think Liberia needs to emulate, or some justices, Chief Justices need to look up to. He may have his drawbacks, but Chia Chipo, he did something. When I was young in Bassa, I watched TV. I used to watch TV with my father. I was about 14 years old. Chia Chipo did something that remains with me today. When George Harper Bailey placed a telephone call to Chia Chipo and wanted to bribe Chia Chipo, even though Harper Bailey was one of those kingsmen, placed a telephone call to Chia Chipo, wanted to lure and bribe Chia Chipo. Chia Chipo trying to make change in our country. Call in the television crew or some journalists, hide them behind his door in his office, and told Harper Bailey, say, bring the bribe. Harper Bailey went there, he carried the bribe to Chia Chipo. Chia Chipo immediately told the journalists to leave from behind the door, and he took picture of Harper Bailey. A crown judge. Let me say this because it's important for us to know the history. I'm not saying it to throw any tribal card, but Chia Chipo had the courage. Doe was quote unquote a crown person. A crown person. Harper Bailey was a crown person. He was a judge. He tried to corrupt the judge, the Chief Justice, Chia Chipo. Chia Chipo said, you will not do this. We got to strengthen the judiciary. I will make you an example. Put the camera on Harper Bailey, basically rounded him up and sent him to jail. Doe got angry. He said, no, you ain't supposed to put a man in jail. He said he will impinge Chia Chipo. Chia Chipo said, I resign. The state said we impinge you. Liberia needs men with courage. If we're going to change our country, we need men with courage. We need to do away with tribalism. Doe removed Chia Chipo because of his kinsman Harper Bailey. Tribalism has not helped Liberia. Today, people driven by political tribalism are desperately defending Musa ability because he needs Musa and they need Keita. It will not help Liberia. Brother, if I am Asset Jackson from Bassa, if I do wrong, let the Bassa people condemn me. This issue of political tribalism or political footballification, that all the man is a CPP man. So even if he does wrong, even if the court say he did bad thing, we will support him to the end. That's not help Liberia. We need to get away from that. I think if the court is supposed to go forward, the Chief Justice have to exercise the moral courage to speak truth to power, to impartially adjudicate cases. Not to adjudicate cases because you want to appease people. No, it's wrong. Chair Chipo set a good example on Hyperbole. Even though Chair Chipo did not stay in the job long, he lost the job in a few months. I think it's 6 months, 5 months. Because I think he was appointed in June of 1987, somewhere around December 1987. Joe had asked him to move, and he moved. But yes, there's nothing wrong with losing a job for a better Liberia. Men have to stand for courage. I said this to my practicing people. Delon Nyambli, let money not be your motivation. Stand up for something. You know, I told money, Musa supported my campaign, and so, you got to be chairman, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't help the party integrity. Do the right thing. Call Musa out. Everywhere around the world, that's the best practice. If somebody is involved with myriad of corruption scandal, they step aside to protect the integrity of the party, and also so they do not serve as a distraction to the party or to the institution they have. Nobody muster the moral courage to ask Billy to step aside. That's the right thing to do. We should not be afraid to do the right thing in our country. And so I'm saying that to our people. I'm saying that also to the court. I mean, you see, Chair Chipo was very, in a way, in her desire to see the right thing done, he was in a way aggressive. Yes. But he did some good things. As Chief Justice of that court, he set example on Bailey, even though he knew Bailey and though were friends and they came from the same ethnic group. He said, even if I lose that job as Chief Justice, they will not kill me. I will do the right thing. I will call Bailey up, and he did. Today, we have a Chief Justice who is trying to engage in, trying to reinterpret history, revisionism, trying to explain things. He does not want to offend element of the hateful oligarchy. He's still explaining that, the rest riot, the people who went to jail, they were not political prisoners. So who were they, Mr. Justice Copper, if you say they were not political prisoners? And if they were not political prisoners, why were they charged with political crime like treason? It's Justice Copper telling us he doesn't know that treason is a political crime. If he doesn't know that treason is a political crime, then we have to feel sorry for the Chief Justice. We have to feel sorry for him. Because everywhere around, anybody who has read law seriously will know that treason is a political crime. If you say these people were not political prisoners, why did the government charge them with political crime like treason? So the justice had to be very clear. You can defend and explain your role in history. As a prison coordinator, we're all trying to revise our history, or we're all trying to sanitize our history. We're all trying to deodorize the disco. What the government of the True Party security people did, and blood were in the streets of Monrovia, running the river. Over 100 people got killed. Other people said 20. But even if one person had died, it's in violation of the law. Article 11 of our Constitution says people have the right to live, just a couple. People die in violation of the international covenant on civil and political rights. Article 6 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights says that the right to life must not be arbitrarily taken away. Just a couple people die. April 14, 1979, people die. How can you sit in your chamber in open court and try to make it look like April 14, 1979 was a good thing, the rest riot? People just went to jail. They were not political prisoners. Who were they? This level of revisionism is not good for your image and for the reputation of the government. And I'm glad that President Weah said and recognized one of those who participated in the rest riot, Oscar Jaikuya. President Weah went there and said, Jaikuya was a patriot. Kopo doesn't see Jaikuya as a patriot. He sees Jaikuya through the prison of the element of the hateful oligarchy that he, Kopo, said that indeed Jaikuya was troublemaker. Because it's about saying if we were not political prisoner, then why they come up, why the American, the oligarchy, the true party people said that they were troublemakers, and why Kokwa want to believe. So I mean, Kokwa remain loyal to the true party that he said as quote unquote in a word, research coordinator. He needs to explain what research was he coordinating, especially in a bureau that was characterized as corrupt. Kokwa served a bureau that was characterized as corrupt, a bureau that was previously headed by military people. That's what Kokwa said. He wants us to believe that that bureau was doing good research. What research? And even the outcome of that research that we saw in the street. And what people were indiscriminately fired at. And you sit in the Supreme Court and you say the people who even tried to voice that disagreement and were unlawfully jailed, incarcerated. My uncle said to me, he said, when they jail us, Kokwa will come and be laughing, grown men in tears, and Kokwa will be laughing. He said, I say, you want to change Liberia, you will feed it. I don't know if my uncle was exaggerating. I don't know if he was exaggerating, but even if he was exaggerating, the evidence before us now doesn't say well of Kokwa. A young man named Atty Kokwa. Where is your humanity? This young man, driven by a desire for justice, set himself ablaze. Today, before your eyes, the man is dying slowly. You are shown not a degree of compassion to say he's a human being. Even though he must have wronged me, or even though he must have gone to the extreme, but he's a human being. He's dying. How much will it cost you, Kokwa? The car you ride is very expensive. You are comfortable. How much will it cost you to take $5,000 or $10,000? Look, my man, go to hospital. Next time, don't take extreme action. Will that take away from you, Mr. Justice Kokwa? Where is your humanity? Where is the sense of decency? Why are you showing indifference to the suffering of other human beings? I said, Jackson, Kokwa, 2015, you and I were close. 2015, when the press were going after you, Kokwa, for riding expensive car. You called me to your office, Justice Kokwa, and asked me to engage with the press. And I did. Issue press release against the press for demonizing the court. Today, you want to portray me as somebody who disrespect the court. I fought for the court in 2015 when nobody could challenge the press. I challenged the press. I said it was unfair for the press to demonize the court, and justices of the court needed strong cars because they were going across the country to supervise the various courts in the region, in the countries. I made that argument in 2015. Today, I may not be a CDC man. You have your new friends. And so you're treating me as though you never interacted with me before. You don't even know me. When you know me personally, when you call me to your office to help your image, you say the press were attacking you. Just a couple. How can you forget so soon? That you will see my children and myself suffering in London. You issue an order that you could not even enforce. What's going on with you? I'm afraid that you may likely end your judicial career in disgrace. It's sad. But it's becoming a reality with what happened to Justice Janet. A colleague of yours, you served along with him. The entire country, eminent lawyers in the country asked you not to preside over the impeachment of Janet because the processes were flawed. You didn't know the warning. The ECOWAS court had to turn your decision around. This is not good. I respect you as an older man, but you are ending your judicial career in disgrace. You will do well. You will do well to change. Because I'm sure the American embassy near our capital is taking judicial notice or public notice of some of the things happening. I hear the rumor that, you've been denied visa. I don't know how true it is. If it is true, we will applaud the American government because America should not be safe havens for people who steal from their people and who abuse justice in their country. I mean, we got to stop this. The Americans have to help us to impose stringent measures on people who are fermenting violence in the country, in people who compromise in the judiciary, in people who are inherently corrupt. They should not go to America. America should not be safe haven for corrupt individuals from Liberia and any part of Africa. The Americans are doing well. We need to applaud them. Just a couple, you have to rethink. The judicial career is dying. And so, my friend, what I would say to Liberians, it matters little what happened to me as an individual and family. It matters for me what happened to Liberia. That's why I'm looking in this camera this evening and telling those who are remotely controlling Musa's ability to stop. To stop. You did this to Liberia before. You brought child stealer. You knew child stealer was a corrupt bandit. You imposing upon Liberia. It destroyed our country today. Children in Liberia do not have good education. Why your children and grandchildren are in the United States going to good schools? You are again bringing Musa's ability. You are again doing this. You know, I will say this to our people. If somebody sold to you fake gold chain, and you bought the fake gold chain and realize that the gold chain fake, if they can't sell something to you again, will you take them seriously? This is our challenge. This is the question we need to answer. If somebody brought child stealer, and child stealer screw our country up, and today they say they're bringing Musa abilities, and they say Musa abilities are good men, even though the record before us saying that Musa is not a very good citizen in good standing based upon the myriad of corruption scandals involving him. Are you going to trust them again, my friend? They said to you that Ambassador William was a genius. Today they're crying and weeping. They sold to you fake gold. You realize that what they sold was fake gold. Are you going to still take them seriously? That is your challenge. That is the question you need to answer, Liberian people. Whoever the people bring to you, it is your duty to impartially examine and scrutinize them for a better Liberia. Those same people should not come back. They don't have monopoly over ideas. They are not the most clever people because they made too many dumb decisions for the country. The country today suffers. So they should not bring anybody to you and you take them because you think they're clever or because you think they got very big friends or important friends. I don't care what even happened to me now. I'm passionate about what I'm saying. I don't care what they will do to me. If you spoil Liberia by the choices you made yesterday, you convince our people. You said Chancellor was a good man. Chancellor screwed our country up. You brought another president. You said the president was good. We're having challenges. Now you bring it to us. Usability, condemned by FIFA, condemned locally. You still say our people should dance behind because you're supposed to have monopoly over ideas. If somebody sold to you fake gold and you bought it and realized that what they sold to you was not fake, was not real gold, will you still listen to them when they come back to you? Look at the Zogo boys in the street. If they sold to you fake gold, see it, and you bought the fake gold and carry home and realized that what they sold to you was a fake gold, they call you. Will you listen to them? Will you take them seriously again? That's the challenge with Liberia. If Liberia will go forward, we need to answer those questions in a very clear and uncompromising way. That is where we are. That is where we are.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Anthony Jackson, for always honoring our invitation here. And not only coming to just say, but to pour out your heart on the issues that matter as we on this path, searching for that glorious land of liberty. And somebody may add, by God's command, I hear you. And I just hope Liberians are listening and hearing you. And the examples that you have narrated couldn't be succinct enough for any human being to understand. I know when they brought Charles Taylor, we were told he was a man of compassion. Even at the time he was in power, we had the likes of Sano Johnson glorifying him, yes. Even though brutality were, in the street of Monrovia. I was on LU campus, and Jackson, you were there too.
Yes. Yes.
Around Bapa, Chucky Taylor will whip anybody's child and commit human rights atrocities against that individual. He will walk away as a free man. And yet others were praising Charles Taylor. Yeah. And others even glorified Charles Taylor because he has given $25,000 to a gospel musical singer. I remember when Charles Taylor prostrated himself on the ground and started saying, "Oh Yahweh, oh Yahweh," after the rehab bunking Liberia for Jesus Christ crusade. Liberians will still tell us he was a good man. This is what we do. And then when others are coming up to say, look, we need to question everybody.
Yes.
Because we are looking for a Liberia that will benefit out of us.
Yes.
They point fingers.
Yes.
They all have their own little devil that they defend.
Yeah.
For them, they don't see Liberia. They see our Liberia through their devils. Yeah. And this is sad. And this is repugnant. And I'm tired of it.
Yes.
And I'm in a foreign land. Even though my skin is black, I have the right to get a loan. But in Liberia, you are not a minister. You can't get a loan. These leaders are not building this kind of system. And when we're asking the question, you say, oh, that CPP man, so it's okay.
Rubbish.
And now you have put your faith in a CPP that has no website, no plan up to now. All big and empty talk. And this is what they do. And I see somebody writing, Anthony C. Mr. Host, I'm disappointed in you. Yes, you are, because the Liberia I won, you have no eyes for that Liberia. And it is that Liberia for which I will continue to bring people here for us to have the conversation. Mr. Jackson, we can't thank you enough. We will reach out to you anytime we need you, because until we give out that life breath, we will continue to look for that Liberia that we all desire. Thank you, and bye-bye. And folks,
thank you. I'm available at all times. Please don't hesitate to contact me when you want us to have a conversation of this nature. Thank you.
Thank you, my brother. So the song says we are all Liberians, and that song is taking us home. Bye-bye, folks.
We are Liberia. Liberia is our home. Liberia people. Liberia.